Well, we finally got some pictures of the new Mercedes W14 upgrades for Monaco, and those sidepods are very different. Let's take a look. Just a word of warning, this is going to be fairly techy. The main image you're seeing is of course the zero pod design that Mercedes have been running all season, and the bottom left is the current spec for Monaco and beyond. The first thing you'll notice is the downwash design that most of the teams have already adopted. Mercedes had this to an extent with their zero pods, but this is now a much wider side pod, with the air being guided downward over the surface toward the beam wing. What surprised a lot of people from these images is the lack of an undercut. If you look at the bottom edge where the Petronas lines are, it's fairly flat without much of an undercut compared to some of the other teams. If you look at Red Bull with the RB19 or even Aston Martin, it seems as though the Mercedes side pod is fairly basic in comparison. It could be a design decision based on their concept and floor, or it's just an indication that this is a very early version of the direction they want to take and they're going to evolve it over time. Remember, they are behind all the other teams who have taken this direction by maybe 2 years. If you take a look at the bottom right image, you can see the new side pod entrance. It's far larger, as you can imagine, and the side pods now extend all the way out to the impact structure, so they're far wider. It's way more noticeable on the Mercedes because they only had a vertical side pod entrance anyway. If you look at their main image, you can see the side impact structure jutting out. It's where the mirrors are sat on. It was one of the more controversial parts of the 2022 car because Mercedes had shrunk down their side pods, but still needed that impact structure, so they had it there as an external element to comply with the regulations. Now though, the side pods are much larger, but the side impact structure is still external, so why is that? Well, the likely answer is it would require a chassis alteration to change or alter the configuration of it, so as such they've just needed to work around it for now, as a chassis change mid-season just isn't that realistic. If Mercedes stick with this design for next year, or something similar at least, I expect that you'll see the side impact structure will once again be inside the side pods, just like with any other team. Going back to the first picture real quick, we can also try and get a sense of what Mercedes is doing on the top of the side pods. Perhaps trying something like Aston Martin or Ferrari, who have those large gullies which are fairly unique, or at least were. Ferrari in 2022 shocked everyone with their incredible design, but that's been pegged back a little bit this year and it's a bit more reserved. Aston Martin, on the other hand, have a very unique design that you can't always see on the TV screens. You really need a different angle to truly appreciate it. From this angle, it's hard to tell exactly how much of a gully there is, but thankfully we have another angle now from the pit lane with the bodywork off the car. It does show a small gully, but it's very, very shallow and it's really just all about that downwash effect. Again, maybe indicating that this is perhaps a very early version of this concept and it has a lot more refinement to come. That being said, Mercedes does have an upper engine cover downwash as well, which is actually more pronounced. As well as the side pod changes, Mercedes have completely altered their front suspension. In this picture, you can see the changes between Miami and Monaco with my very crude highlights. They may look similar, but they're actually different. The top wishbone is now way more sloped, both front and rear. They are still using a pushrod suspension though. That's not something they're realistically going to change mid-season due to the chassis mounting points. The suspension changes though bring with it something that is more in line with Aston Martin and Red Bull, with an anti-dive configuration of sorts, a design intended to stop the car pitching under braking, providing potentially better braking and more car stability. As well as this, although we have no pictures of it just yet, is the new floor to go with it all. And so, as you can appreciate, this is a very substantial update. And just so we're clear, there's no guarantees it will work. Mercedes reckoned it would be worth around 0.2 of a second in Imola, which may not sound like a lot, I know, but the package was all about building a base where they can work from and gain more over time. It was never about being a silver bullet. They needed to change the direction of the car, and this new base point will be what they can work from going forward over the next few months and next year. Remember, when Aston Martin brought a very substantial upgrade package to Spain in 2022, they didn't really go forward. In fact, they went backwards. It took them a few races to really get on top of their package. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Mercedes out on track in FP1 at Monaco on Friday morning. It's going to be weird seeing it with side pods, but I'm interested to see how it performs. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.